Hi, I'm Mr. Howard. Most of you know me, but for those who don't, I'm a teacher in Michigan. I'm a choir teacher, not a mechanic. What you're about to see is an amateur's attempt at fixing his snowblower. This is a 1986 snowblower. I bought it used. It has a plastic chute, and time and cold has left the plastic brittle. And when I used it this year, the stones and the ice that are in my driveway punched a hole through the upper chute and then later started to break through on the lower part of the chute. And now this is my solution to fixing it before saving up money to buy a brand new snowblower. Here's a shot of the upper part of the chute. To get me through the last snow, I simply took a milk carton and I attached it to the upper part of the chute where there was a hole, and it actually worked out quite nicely. It kept the snow from blowing out the top of the chute, and it came out right down here where it's supposed to. The snow shot out here instead of shooting out the top of the chute, and it was a good temporary fix. My damage, and it's hard to see, is right in here where you can see that spot of orange. There's a long crack right there, and then there's a big hole right up here underneath the plastic of the milk carton, and those are the areas that I need to fix. This is the upper part of the chute, as you can see, badly damaged. Here's the inside of it. I'll be using this portion as the first piece I'll try to repair because it's the most heavily damaged. It's a good place to start with my experimentation, as it were, rather than starting on the good piece of the snowblower. I can still run the snowblower with the chute as it is, but I'll use this as my starting point. Here's what I'm going to use to fix the inside of the chute. These are corner flashing pieces that I picked up at a local hardware store. I got them for 50 cents a piece. I'll need probably 4, maybe 6 of them to fix the inside of the chute. They're very thin. I'll be able to drill through them, drill through the plastic of the chute. I'll line the inside of the chute with these pieces of corner flashing. Okay, here is the top part of the chute. I have it laid out on a little card table I have here in my garage. By simply taking the corner flashing and putting it inside the chute, you can see that it's almost perfect size for the chute. I'll line it up. I'll mark it with a Sharpie marker. Okay, I'll put holes here on the sides. I'll drill through, and this should be the easiest part of the repair. But it's also, like I said, it's a good place to start because this is the most heavily damaged, and if I get it wrong, then it won't harm too much of the snowblower. Okay, now since I moved into this house in August and it's now December, I don't have a lot of tools, so I've improvised. I've taken a block of wood, I've clamped the flashing to the block of wood using a pair of vice grips. This will keep the piece of metal from moving around, and when I punch through it, I won't damage anything except for the scrap piece of wood. So there's starting point, I don't know, whatever number I'm on right now. Okay, now I punched through using the other one. Given the thinness of this metal, I just found out that it's probably okay to start with a larger bit. Otherwise, the metal just kind of tears. So next one, I will use the larger bit to start with. Live and learn. That's why we do these things. Okay, I was right. You can go ahead and start with a larger drill bit, and it gives you a nice clean hole. You can see some burr right there. Simply take either a pair of pliers and peel that off, or you can file it down if you want, or you can just take a hammer and hammer it down flat into the metal. Seeing as how this will be inside the chute, I'm just going to use a hammer and smooth it out that way. Okay, you can see I threaded the bolt through, and I chose to put the head of the bolt on the inside of the chute and then simply attached it on the back side. Make sure that you have a washer in there, and there's just a wing nut. I may have to come back and trim a little bit of this a little bit later, but I can use a marker and trace that and then cut it with some tin snips a little bit later. But right now, there's the first part of the fix. Now I will do the same thing on the other side. Okay, I have fixed both sides. Now, in order to kind of give it further stability, I'm going to drill a hole up here, and I'll put a simple bolt and nut right in there, and it should hold the whole thing together very nicely. By clamping it all together, I get the alignment that I want. I've punched through, you can see the shavings there, I've punched through both pieces of metal, I've punched through the plastic. Now I'll insert the screw and nut, and don't forget the washers. Washers are important because it spreads out the tension that's created by the nut and the screw, and it won't pull through the metal, through the hole that you've cut. Make sure you use washers. Okay, and there, by using the plastic upper part of the chute as a frame, I have now framed in the chute with those pieces of corner flashing, and I've got a pretty solid inner workings here. And if I turn it over, it's all metal, therefore the ice and the stones are not going to punch through that. And again, I've left the frame in place with the plastic, so it's reinforced and should get me through the rest of the winter. You will notice that I forgot to put in the washer because I forgot to buy the washers. I'll go back and fix that. I have to run down to the hardware store. Make sure you use washers. Okay, I've attached the upper part of the chute back onto the snowblower. You can see I've got a nice tight seal up here at the top where the original hole was. I don't think I'm going to have any leakage on that. I've attached the wing nuts on the sides, and then I just wanted to put it on here to see if everything fit. I won't have to go back and trim it because the chute, the metal goes on the outside of the lower chute, so there's no trimming there. If I wanted to, I could come back in and trim it all and make it fit, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. Be careful when you're working with metal, of course, because edges are sharp, and you might want to consider crimping or go ahead and trim it, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. I'm going to take off the upper part of the chute, and then the lower part of the chute is very similar. I won't film all of that process. I'll just film the final product. Okay, you can see this. I've got the first layer of flashing inside the lower part of the chute. I've got it fastened with my screws. Now I have to do this portion, which will take 2 more pieces. I'll put it back together, then I'll take it out and run it. And there it is. I've lined the inside of the chute with the flashing, the corner flashings. I used 1 on each side, so there's a total of 4 on the inside of the chute. The plastic chute remains as the frame, and the metal will protect the plastic from any stones or chunks of ice that come shooting through the auger, and should protect the plastic and keep the chute intact for the rest of the winter until I can afford to buy a new one with a metal chute. But there you go. I'll reattach the upper part of the chute, and then I'll take it out and I will give it a test run. As you can see, the chute works fine, and we're blowing the snow. It cost me about $10 to fix it. It'll get me through the winter. There you go.